bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Yeah, man. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, today's Monday. Another week right here on Fade to Black, getting ready to unfold. Today is June 12th. 162 days into the new year, 203 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? What a week we have got right in front of us. Can you believe it? Big stuff happening here. Oh, man, that's a pretty good tweet right there. That's going to get a retweet. Nice. Old desert gal with her Fade or Not wristband. Just posted right up there on Twitter. Tonight we have with us Joshua P. Warren. And tonight we're going to discuss the recent video investigation that Joshua has released on OUFOs. What's an OUFO? Tonight we're going to talk about that. And also a new field of research he created this year called Para-Cymatics. So we're going to discuss that and all things Puerto Rico. Man, the Bermuda Triangle, Arecibo, it's all in Joshua P. Warren's world. We're going to do that tonight. Tomorrow night, director, investigator, film director, obviously he's done a load of paranormal and ghost hunting TV shows. Chad Kalick is here. Chad's got a new film out. It's called Sir No Face. And in this film, and you can check out the documentary, just go to sirnoface.com. You can check out the trailer. He is on a nationwide tour. Right now it's getting ready to kick off in a couple of weeks across the United States. And all of the cities that he is visiting is up on his website. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. But the first documented full-bodied ghost has been caught on film. And that's what Sir No Face is about. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. This is potentially a game changer. Who was involved in the film? How was the documentary put together? I'll save all of that for tomorrow night with Chad. But this is an exciting show tomorrow night with Chad Kalick. And then, of course, Wednesday night, I'm going to talk about this in just a minute. Wednesday night, we are going to do a UFO roundtable of different media personalities, researchers, big, the best and the brightest. Now, I've assembled the team, and I am done with it, actually. I've got the entire show put together. We have 8 people coming on the show on Wednesday night to discuss what has been going down over the last 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks now in the UFO community. It's been about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. And it's going to be a crazy show. I need to have those questions answered. Have we been infiltrated? I want to know what's going on. There are a few different groups or people out there from that don't even seem to be related. Some are related, but but that have tried to break this community up. That's exactly what's going on. Now, I have talked to some very important people. I'm going to get to that in just a second. And they are all telling me the same message. It's very bizarre. And I think you're going to be surprised with who is on the show and who is saying what. So get ready for that. That'll be Wednesday night. I'll go on the record, man. This is potentially the most important show we've ever done. But I know that there's something is amiss right now in the UFO and paranormal community. All right, so that's Wednesday night. Thursday night's going to be another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom live, followed by open lines all night long. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio, simple enough, at JChurchRadio. Facebook, YouTube, everything is Fade to Black, Jimmy Church Radio. If you go over to jimmychurchradio.com, you can click on those three little buttons there, follow, like, and subscribe. Okay, now the sandbox in Twitter is hashtag F2B. For those of you that are new to the show, that are listening to this for the first time, there are a few, but you can go to KGRA, you can go to their chat room, you can go to Spreaker and jump into that chat room, which I am doing now. There you go. Hello, everybody. And then we have Twitter. And everything is live in front of me. If you're watching me on the bunker cam, I have Twitter here. I have email here. I have a chat room here. I have a chat room there. A couple other computers behind me that are doing absolutely nothing. They're just there as stage props. But so everything is live right in front of me. And I encourage interaction with the show because this show is live. Okay? Those of you out there that listen to the show and they're hearing my voice the next day, they don't get it. They're just listening to whoever the guest is and so forth. They're probably fast forwarding this part of the show so they can get straight to whoever the guest is tonight. So, but participate. That's what you should do. Everything is in real time. So I can see your questions. I can see your comments. I can see what is going on. And if you have any questions or comments, post it in hashtag F2B. That's the sandbox. A few thousand tweets will happen there throughout the show with everybody that is listening, and they comment, and they're involved in a conversation. You can do all of that with TweetDeck. All right? And it's a TweetDeck is an amazing program. If you don't have it, go download it. Go to Twitter, download TweetDeck, and then you're going to get your columns going. And once you do, and you need help, just hashtag F2B and ask one of the Fadernauts to come in and help you out and set everything up. Once you set it up once, it's done. It just runs like a slot machine in Vegas. So there you go. That's the show. It's live. We've got a great week lined up in front of us. You can also email throughout the show, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. All right. Breaking news right before the show tonight. Dennis Rodman. Yeah, man. Dennis Rodman is on his way to North Korea. And by now, he should have landed in Pyongyang and is expected to meet with Kim Fatty Fat. There is no news about how long he will visit or what the agenda is or why he is there. But he is on his way to North Korea. Also, tonight, since we're talking about the NBA, the Warriors are looking to close out the finals against the Cavs tonight in the Game 5 at home. And the game is on here in the bunker, yes. And I'll keep everybody posted throughout the show tonight. If you want any updates, I'll do that periodically. I don't do sports anymore. But since you're hanging out here with us on the show and not watching the Game 5 NBA Finals, I'll keep you updated. Okay, right here. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast where we have over 670 archive shows, custom apps for Apple and Android, all platforms, just $2 a month. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com and click on the podcast banner, or you can become a Fadernaut, separate from the podcast, not the same thing. Become a member over in our membership area. Become a Fadernaut, where you're going to get the bunker cam. You're going to get commercial-free downloadable archives. And if you get the Game Changer, you will get all of that Fade to Black gear. You get an autographed hat and a T-shirt and all that. Plus, you get a secret email to me that nobody else has. And I write back. You send me an email. I will write you back. All right, it's not like my normal email. This is just for the Fadernauts. Also, every month in the membership area, we do give away really cool prizes. Last month, we gave away a coffee bar, courtesy of River Moon Coffee. This month, we'll be giving away a life-changing package, courtesy of Life Change Tea. And so to get in on all of that, just go to our membership area and become a Fadernaut. Okay? All right? No purchase necessary. You can just become a Fadernaut if that's what you want. If you want to help support the show, get commercial-free downloadable archives, get the bunker cam, the gear, the autographed hats, all of that stuff, please go ahead and do that. You will help support the show. All right? Now, another big announcement. Father's Day is coming up this weekend. So we have all of our sponsors, Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com, of course, River Moon Coffee, and Studio Dome speakers. Studio Dome has a Father's Day special that's good for today and tomorrow only. All right? Now, if you go and you order, you will get everything in time for Father's Day. Now, this is what it is, and this is how cool Studio Dome is and how much they love the Fadernauts. They are going to give away a free digital tape measure. It's the perfect gift for Dad. They're going to throw it in the box for free with an SBB2 stereo system. Now, we advertise the stereo system. You guys get it all month long, okay? But this is for Father's Day. So, if you order, the price is the same, $129 out the door, including free shipping. So you're going to get that. But in the box, they're going to put in the digital tape measure. That's a $29 retail value digital tape measure. It's the perfect gift for Dad, and it's totally free. It's thrown in the box. So if you order right now today, click on the banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. Use the promo code DAD, D-A-D, 17, today and tomorrow. Order it, and you're going to get that tape measure thrown in the box for free. There you go. It's already the best deal on the net, but it will arrive in time for Father's Day. My suggestion, give the tape measure to Dad. He'll love it. Keep the stereo. That's what I would do. All right, so DAD 17, Dad 17. It's right there. The banners are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Just click on it. It'll take you straight over and just enter Dad 17. Okay? And that'll be running today and tomorrow. After tomorrow, it's going back to the old deal because you won't have it in time for Father's Day anyway, right? So you want it in time for Father's Day. There you go. Okay. Also, this Saturday, I will be speaking at Disclosure Fest, the Mass Meditation Initiative, this Saturday, June 17th, at the Los Angeles State Historic Park, right here in downtown Los Angeles. Tickets are free. You just have to register. Just go to disclosurefest.com, get your tickets, register, and I'll see you downtown this Saturday. I'll be speaking, I think I'm speaking at 12:15. All right, on the main stage. So we'll see you guys down there this Saturday. Also coming up at the end of this month, in less than 3 weeks away, we will be at the ECETI Ranch for their July 4th Science, Spirit, and World Transformation Conference. Just click on the banner also over on our site, jimmychurchradio.com. Take you straight over for tickets and info. Everything has been posted up on Twitter. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Dave Franco. Yeah, that's right. Who's Dave Franco? He's the brother of James. And he's also pretty good in Now You See Me Too. Today, happy birthday, James Franco is 32 years old. Our dead guy's birthday today is, and I had to do it. I had to do it for you Fadernauts. Let's see who gets pissed off, right? Happy birthday to our dead guy's birthday, David Rockefeller. 1915 to 2017, died back in March. Died at the age of 101. Yes, the son of John D. Rockefeller Jr. At the time of his death, he was the oldest billionaire in the world. That's right, after 9 heart transplants. Well, that's the rumor. Okay, just kidding. No, I don't know. Probably it's an urban legend. Maybe not. I don't know. But anyway, he did make it to 101, 9 heart transplants. 1915 to 2017. Oldest billionaire in the world. Yeah, running the Illuminati. On this day in history, 1994, I remember it like it was yesterday. Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman were murdered. Yeah, trippy, huh? Yep. Fate or fact. And this is a fact, and you can vet it if you want, but I vetted it. It's good enough for me. In 1900, right? 117 years ago, in 1900, all of the world's mathematical knowledge could be written in about 80 books. Today, it would fill more than 100,000. Think about that. That's a trippy fact, isn't it? How far we have come in 117 years. All right, tonight, Joshua P. Warren is with us, and we're going to discuss his recent video investigation that he has just released on OUFOs. You can go to joshuapwarren.com. We put up the links for it. You can watch the video if you want to watch it in advance. We're going to play parts of it tonight during the show. And also, he created a new field of research, and it's called Para-Cymatics. So we're going to discuss that, too, as well. Tomorrow night, director, investigator, paranormal specialist Chad Kalick is going to be here to talk about his new documentary, Sir No Face. I would suggest everybody go to sirnoface.com, check out the trailer before the show tomorrow night. It's pretty trippy. All right. Wednesday is going to be the big roundtable discussion on has our UFO community been infiltrated? And this is something that had to be done. I did a post. I've actually commented about this a couple of times over the last 3 weeks, that something's been going on. And I was watching a few people out there that I'm not even sure. Maybe they know each other. I don't know. But some just strange comments that were going on about a few different organizations and a couple of authors and a couple of researchers. And you know, I'll throw Corey Good into this too, even though Corey and what's going on with the Blue Avions and his guy, Roger, his producer that works with him. They are I know most people think that that's who I'm talking about. I'm not. It's a very small part of this pie. They are a slice of this pie. But we all know what happened with MUFON. There's comments going on out there, very negative about Gaia. There's stuff that's going on right now about contact in the desert. We have Peter Robbins and Larry Warren and what was just published over in England, you know, with I think it was the Daily Mirror or one of those newspapers over there, and a few more situations. But the point being that I don't think it's ever happened like this all at one time ever in ufology, and you could throw in the paranormal too as well. And I had to step back, and my email every single day was jammed up. 50 emails. 100 on this subject, and people contacting me about what did I think was going on, and what was driving it. And so I think I made this comment, so I'll do it again. About 3 months ago, about a month before Contact in the Desert, I was contacted by a couple of different individuals, not on the same day, and these two people that I respect and that you know are seemingly completely unrelated to each other, that don't talk to each other the best that I know, and they both said that things were about to hit the fan. And I was like, oh, come on, man. They just went on. No, Jimmy, you don't know. There's this person, this person, this person, and this person, this person. I'm like, wait, what? No, come on, just stop. Don't buy into that stuff. I don't do it. I'm not into conspiracies, and let's just let this go. Then I get another phone call naming some of the same names and other stuff, and then I get some stuff in my email, and I'm just sitting back going, what? It can't be real. I'm not buying into it. Well, here we are. And some of the stuff that they said with some of the names that were mentioned actually happened. And some of the stuff you don't even know about it and who's behind it. That stuff hasn't come out into the public. And I'm not here to do that either. That part doesn't bother me. What trips me out is who is behind it. Why? I have on good knowledge. Well, from there's been some hacking going on that you don't know about. There's been some disruption of some very prominent servers out there that has happened. There's been some strange copyright infringement things going on that you don't know about. This is running behind the scenes. There's that. There has been some disinformation and character assassinations on people that is going on behind the scenes, not the public stuff that you know about, that is going on. And then we have these other things going on both sides of the pond and just finger pointing, and I don't get it. What is happening with our community? Now, if all of this happened over the period of about a year, okay, all right, whatever. It's the UFO community. But this seems to be direct. This is definitely there are some institutions outside of ufology that don't want us to be happy, that don't want us to get close to the truth, that don't want certain people to speak, that don't want certain books published, that don't want certain websites out there happening, that don't want organizations to stay together, that don't want networks to stay together. And it's all happening at the same time. And I'm telling you right now, I'm at the middle of it. I'm right here just looking at all of this going on, going, wait a minute. There's something happening here. Now, I can go back before anybody comes to me and says, Jimmy, man, this stuff, listen to me. There has been disinformation agents inside of ufology from the beginning. Go back to 1947. From the very beginning. And I will cite to you the most classic example of a public revealing of this, and that's William Moore. William Moore got up in Las Vegas at the MUFON Symposium and said he was a disinformation agent being fed information from the Air Force, right? And probably other organizations too as well. And turn around, and as he announced this at that symposium, the boos, the crowd, the shock of what was going on, as that was going, he turned and ran. You can watch the video. Ran out the back door and was never seen from again. So don't tell me that this doesn't happen, because it does. And right now, with the way that this is panning out in front of me, I have to step back and wonder. Some of these individuals, have they been activated? I don't know. Some of these groups, I don't know. Some of these individuals that are, like I said, are seemingly unrelated. The timing is suspect. It is a very strange situation that we find ourselves in. So I need to gather everybody together. I need to know. I need to speak to some of the young players. I need to speak to some of the medium-aged players. And I need to speak to some of the veterans that are all game changers in this, that have a stake in this, that have gone through and experienced this, that are dealing with it now. And what do they think is actually going on? And it's going to be an eye-opener. And the one thing that I can promise you is I won't take part in the negativity. I'm not going to do it. I haven't done it. I haven't named names. I'm not going to watch videos. I'm not going to read posts. I will not do it. I will unfriend, block, punt, and drop kick anybody that wants to cause any negativity or say, man, he said, she said. Well, you know what? You're not part of this circle, because I am doing this for you so you can understand what the forces actually are, what is actually really going on. And I can promise you it's not what you think. It is not what you think. If you think it's actually who or what you've been hearing things from, and if you think any of that stuff is true, that's the part that you're completely wrong about. And I don't care who it is that's saying what. I had a couple of conversations over the weekend. Had a couple of conversations with some players, and where I was told, well, Jimmy, this, and this went down. And I said, no, it did not. It didn't. And I had to silence some people. And then I got email. Well, you should go and talk to this person, or you should go and talk to that. You should watch this video. And through all of those 50 emails over the weekend, what each one of those emails, what they didn't know as they were sending it to me, that I had already, A, talked to these people, or B, I have not watched this stuff. And I won't. I know it's a bizarre situation. And we are definitely going to address this on Wednesday. Okay? No negativity, nothing coming out of me. It ain't going to happen on this show. I need all of you to focus, and we are going to move forward together. All right? There you go. And I'm going to leave it at that. Is that enough of a rant? It's all good. I'm telling you, you're going to be surprised. You're going to be surprised. And I think the vast majority of you are just going to go, whew, all right. It's not that. Okay? It's all good. This is Fade to Black tonight. Joshua P. Warren is here live from Puerto Rico. We're going to talk about OUFOs, Para-Cymatics, what's going on in Arecibo. We've got to deal with the Bermuda Triangle. Yeah, we're going to do all of that tonight with Joshua. You just stay right there. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply and, of course, the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic. And very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Again, GetTheT.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Very exciting week we have here on the show. Tonight, Joshua P. Warren is here. Tomorrow night, Chad Kalick with his extraordinary documentary, Sir No Face. He's going to be here. And then Wednesday night, our big UFO community roundtable. I will announce everybody. You know what? I kind of want to keep it as a surprise, but maybe I'll start to leak some names tomorrow night. We'll save all of that for Wednesday. What is going on in our UFO community? Thursday night's another Fader night. Open lines all night long with John Rappaport here and his No More Fake Newsroom live. You can follow Joshua P. Warren. It's simple. It's Joshua P. Warren on Twitter. He is an investigator who pioneers the amazing relationship between the mind, energy, matter, and strange phenomena. Of course, he owns the Asheville Mystery Museum and Laboratory in North Carolina and the Bermuda Triangle Research Base in Puerto Rico. The author of over 20 best-selling books, including Use the Force, A Jedi's Guide to the Law of Attraction, and The Wishing Machine Workbook. I have a wishing machine here. And yes, I'll admit, I'll talk to Joshua about it. It has worked for me. He has appeared on numerous TV programs, including History Channel, Discovery, Nat Geo, Animal Planet, SyFy, TLC, and starred on the Travel Channel series Paranormal Paparazzi. He travels the world investigating mysterious phenomena and made the cover of a science journal back in 2004 for lab experiments regarding energy fields in nature related to the Brown Mountain Lights. Tonight, we're going to discuss the recent video investigation that Joshua has released. You can go to joshuapwarren.com. We put up the links in Twitter and check out the video. I asked everybody in the audience to watch it before we brought on Joshua tonight, and hopefully you did that. Talking about OUFOs. What's an OUFO? We'll find out in just a bit. And also a new field of research he has created this year called Para-Cymatics. Para-Cymatics is a technique that Warren created to produce sigils or symbols in the lab that enhance manifestations and paranormal activity of all kinds. His website, of course, is joshuapwarren.com. I'd like to welcome back to Fade to Black our good friend, Joshua P. Warren. Joshua, good evening, man.
Hey, good evening, Jimmy. Always wonderful to be with you, sir.
Yeah, man. Puerto Rico. Now, check this out. I'm going to let everybody know. Tonight is Game 5 of the NBA Finals, right? So I'm going to do the halftime update. It's the Warriors up 71-60 over the Cavs. And there you go. And for the audience, Joshua, that is here hanging out with you and I instead of watching the finals, I think that's pretty cool. So I'm just going to extend them the courtesy of an update like every 30 minutes. Next thing you know, that it'll be over with. But are you an NBA fan?
You know, unfortunately, I only have so much time per day, so I don't get to focus that much on sports. But if I could watch any sport, I enjoy watching basketball. I enjoy baseball, but I don't get to keep up with it too much.
Did you even know who was in the finals?
Nope.
No, that's fair enough, man. I pick up at the finals. You know, I don't have the time anymore. You know, I was a sportscaster, right? And knew everything about everything, you know, every single day, you know, doing a live show. And now I am completely checked out. I have to reserve the disk space for the paranormal. You know,
it is funny how as time goes on, you can start comparing your brain to a computer, and it matches up nicely. It's a great reference point.
Yeah, you know, I have friends and family that'll come to me and go, "Dude, did you hear who just got signed?" I'm like, who? I've been so out of the sports world. It's nearly embarrassing that all of the facts and everything that you had to accumulate. And I'm just so glad to just let it go. You know, the paranormal world is me. Now, before we move on, Joshua, Puerto Rico is in the news. This whole 51st state initiative. You live there, and you're there in Puerto Rico now. Can you help me out here and understand what's actually going on?
Well, sure. And you know, as you mentioned in the intro, I divide my time between Asheville, North Carolina, and Puerto Rico, and I do have a home here as well, and that's where I'm joining you from right now. This is really nothing new. Puerto Ricans have voted numerous times over the years to become a state, and it's really a meaningless vote. It's sort of like you or me voting to become Brooklyn Decker's boyfriend, you know, and it's like maybe she gets a say in that, right? I mean, it doesn't matter, because all that matters is whether or not the United States feels compelled to take on another state. And, you know, this area acts like a state. I mean, for example, you don't need a passport to come here. It's just like traveling to another state. The people who live here are in a very confused state because they they were drafted to fight in World War II and in Vietnam, but they can't vote for the president. Also, they don't have to pay any federal income taxes to the IRS, but they do have to pay into Social Security. And so they're in a weird, ambiguous situation here. But I don't think that the United States has any sort of motivation to make this part of their territory a state. For one thing, 50 has a really nice ring to it.
Right.
And other than that, I mean, I had a friend who came to me recently and said, "My business is failing miserably. I'm about to go under. Would you like to buy it?" And I said, "Nah, I think I'll pass on that." And so basically, you could say, well, we already kind of own Puerto Rico, but we don't, as a country, have to extend to Puerto Rico some of the same types of really courtesies that a state gets, which is why the United States loves doing weirdo experiments here. And that's not just some kind of conspiratorial talk. I mean, I can go down a very specific list we have in the past on this show about extremely controversial experiments that have been done here regarding eugenics and DNA manipulation and biological mutation and explosives testing and all kinds of stuff that they can do here that would never fly in a state. So I just don't see any reason that the people in Congress would ever vote for Puerto Rico to become a state, and it's sad but true.
Now, and plus we have all of the alien stuff that goes on there, you know, with Arecibo and alien contact and communications. That's an interesting take. If it was a state, they would maybe have to disclose some of this other stuff that can stay completely in the black.
Oh, yeah. Well, things here not only remain usually sort of undercover because that it's not a state, but also it's an island. We're way out here, and people don't usually pay that much attention to Puerto Rico. But furthermore, the primary language here is Spanish. And so, I mean, most people here speak English, but still the official language of Puerto Rico is Espanol. And so a lot of what happens here at most, in terms of paranormal activity, might make it into some of the Spanish media, but it never makes it back into the mainstream English media. And so that's one of the areas of promise that I have taken advantage of. I mean, there have been things here that I have found that made it sort of into the local Spanish media, but not any further than that. And I've been able to gain enough trust from people here over the past 11 years to take some of these really great stories and bring them to the mainland. And people in the States feel like they're getting something for the first time, but in some cases, these are things Puerto Ricans have known about for decades.
Now, and certainly you are a gringo. I mean, you're about as white as it gets, right?
Yes, I am. I'm like Frosty the Snowman walking down the street here. I'm a big, giant man, but everybody loves me. They're so nice and friendly here.
Right. And so what's your take as you've been there for 11 years, but you're still an outsider, right? You're not Puerto Rican, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
What is your take? Do Puerto Ricans want statehood? I mean, I was looking at the vote, which took place yesterday, and it wasn't that high of a turnout, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it's very bizarre because my understanding is there was literally a move to boycott the vote, which doesn't make a lot of logical sense to me, but to boycott the vote because there were a lot of people who said, well, the government's going to spend $2 million to take this vote. It's not going to mean anything anyway. And so I think they said that the vote turned out 97% of the people said that they wanted to become a state. But as you just said, the turnout was low. But so again, Puerto Ricans cannot determine their own fate in this way. That's why Puerto Ricans are so frustrated. This is one of the most dominated places in the history of the Western world. I mean, from the time Columbus came here in 1493, all the major world powers have fought over Puerto Rico. It started with the Spanish, and then the English, and the Dutch, and the French, and the United States is just the latest invader, that came in and took over. And so the people here, even the ones who are motivated to try to get things operating in a more streamlined fashion, they have their hands tied to a certain extent because they don't have the same legal considerations and powers that a state has. And so it's created a very frustrating situation for everybody.
Now, before we move on, I wanted to ask you about tourism really quick because it's easy for tourists to get, you don't need a passport, right? You can just jump on a plane and go, or a boat and go. But the economy has really been in the news lately with Puerto Rico. How has that affected tourism?
Well, San Juan is the most visited tourism destination in the entire Caribbean. And, we're talking millions of people go to San Juan every year just on cruise ships. And that hasn't changed. And so, ultimately, if you are here on the ground, you don't see any big major changes. I mean, every day you get up, it's beautiful. The sun is shining. The water is turquoise. The breeze is blowing. Everybody's got I was going to say a medallia. That's the big beer down here. Everybody's got a medallia. They're smiling. They're snorkeling. They're having fun. It's not like you're here and you see some catastrophic scene before you. I mean, it still looks like a tourism brochure for paradise wherever you go. And so, ultimately, the only thing that bothers me is that sometimes you do have issues where your power goes out. And that's because the grid here, it needs to be updated big time. I mean, it's kind of an ad hoc system. It's very messy. So the grid needs to be redone. If this place got hit by a hurricane, it would be out of power for months until they rebuilt the whole grid from the ground up. That is one thing that needs to be changed. But otherwise, everything looks great here and everybody seems to be having a good time. So to me, it's a very good example of how you have the reality that's in front of you, and then you have what you read in the newspaper or you watch on TV. And don't we know politicians always have to say, my God, the sky is falling and we're going to hell in a handbasket, because that's how they get more money.
Right. Well, I was thinking about this today, and you're right. 50 is a round number. What if I don't want to even sound naive or stupid, but 51. What do we do with the flag? Right? I mean,
yeah.
What do we do? What do we do? And we have to reprint, right? We got to. And how are those stars going to be arranged? And anyway, that's just my own perverted, polluted mind. I started to think about how that would be done. Okay, moving on. Puerto Rico. I think we've all been dumbfounded over the years why they haven't been a state. They've done everything that United States citizens do. What's weird? Another thing that I've never understood about Puerto Rico is they could vote in the primary, right? And they go to the conventions, right? They're represented, but they can't vote for president in the actual election. It doesn't make sense. I don't know. I'm just confused. It just always never made any sense to me how you can expect them to arm up for a war and vote in the primary, but they're not a state. Yeah, it's just funky. Now, also right off of Puerto Rico, of course, is the Bermuda Triangle. And I think a lot of us in the paranormal got introduced to our little supernatural world from one of two things: Eric Von Daniken, or what happened with the Bermuda Triangle in the 1970s and how that fascination hit all of us. What's new in the Bermuda Triangle?
Well, what we're finding here is that there is this long-standing UFO and USO phenomenon that has been, I think, well documented here for a long time. But we are now seeing it more clearly than ever thanks to new footage, new pictures, better imaging technology. And what's weird, and of course this is exemplified by this video report that I put out after taking the past 4 years of really assembling the best of the best, what we're finding is that when you see the best footage we have of some of these things flying around that are also dipping in and out of the water, if you look at them carefully over and over like I have, and at this point like you have, it's very, very hard to imagine that there's a little man sitting inside at a steering wheel.
Right.
So in other words, these things don't look like some kind of a machine that's being piloted by a little alien. These things look to be themselves as if they are conscious and interactive entities. And therefore, and of course we'll talk a little bit more about, you mentioned OUFO. That's the term that I've coined to describe what I think is happening here. I call them organic UFOs, and that is because that I have seen all of this footage. I have captured lots of imagery myself, and I have been able to look way back. I'm talking hundreds, if not thousands of years, to the Taino Indians, which were the inhabitants of this island when Columbus discovered this island, and look at some of the few things that we have from their culture, because the Spaniards love to destroy other cultures in the name of Christ. And in fact, it's a real shame. I mean, they literally would come in and say, this is pagan, this is heathen, let's destroy it. And they came in and they wiped out so much, but some of the few things we have here are these sculptures that are called samis that they considered representations of lesser gods, which are very, very odd-looking, saucer-shaped, almost, they look like little Hershey kisses, really, with faces on them, that these ancient Tainos said were essentially, gods that we can imagine. Well, they said they lived in the sky, and so therefore it might be that this is not something new, that this is a phenomenon that is prevalent in this area that we now call UFOs, but these are different than some type of a spaceship from another planet.
Now, when you say organic, I want to focus on that for a second, because there always has been the talk of interdimensional life, right? That comes into our dimension or our parallel world, comes in, says hello for a second, either by accident or intentionally, and then goes back out again. But these are just organic and just as full of life as you or I, but they could be flying creatures from another dimension that comes in that we mistake for UFOs, something made out of metal instead of something organic. Do you think that that's a possibility here?
I'm glad that you bring this up right off the bat, because unfortunately, when most people hear the word organic, and it's natural, we are so egocentric that we think that means something that sort of resembles what we're made of, a little soft, fleshy thing. But all that organic means is that this is something that contains some life and presumably some consciousness. So in other words, if you were to take a human being and grind that human being up and look at the components, you would see iron and copper and zinc and sulfur and magnesium, all these things that we usually associate with being inanimate, but those are the things that are actually inside of us. And so those kinds of components can simply be arranged in a slightly different way, and you get something which looks very, very different, just as much as an insect looks different from us, or some creature at the bottom of the ocean looks so different from us,
right?
Or a microscopic organism looks so different from us. But all these things are, look at a tree. I mean, a tree is an organic thing. We have creatures that produce light, like lightning bugs. We have creatures that produce an enormous amount of energy seemingly out of nowhere, like electric eels. I mean, organic spans this huge spectrum. And so I think that this, calling them organic is, I believe, accurate, but it also blurs the line, perhaps, regarding organic and inorganic from the human point of view. And it could be that whatever these beings are that are appearing in this saucer-shaped form, which by the way, it's not always saucer-shaped, as you can see in the video. Sometimes it's a very irregular-looking shape. Right. But it may seem that these things, they are literally, they're older than we are, or they're younger than we are, perhaps, who knows. But however young or old they may be, they are sufficiently designed so that they do not clearly exhibit those qualities that we like to strictly categorize as organic or inorganic, and yet they do have some life in the same way that an amoeba or something like that has life as well.
Now, and also, you've done a lot of research with Brown Mountain. I have my sightings. People are seeing orbs and lights and things that enter and leave the atmosphere, or are seen at different indigenous sites across the U.S. and around the world, too. Is there a possibility that what you have captured in your videos and calling them OUFOs, organic, that these different phenomena are related?
Yeah, I think so. In fact, just last night, my good friend Christian McLeod, who owns the Asheville Cryptid Society, he texted me and he said, "You're on TV right now." And I turned to Destination America, and they were showing some footage that was originally shot in 2010 of my team and myself up at Brown Mountain. And it aired originally on the National Geographic Channel, and it was recut into this program for Destination America called Monsters and Mysteries Unsolved. And it was a really well done presentation because they included Brown Mountain with a lot of other stories that they had assembled over the years about these kinds of lights. And one of the themes that you would hear over and over again is people talking about the sense that these are conscious or that they're interactive. And then you hear that a lot about just general UFO sightings where some of these pilots see these weird lights in the sky, the Foo Fighters and that sort of thing. There's always been this question as to whether or not even these lights that people see have some consciousness because they tend to follow people or somehow interact with them. Now, a very strict materialistic, scientist would say, well, hey, that's because the human body has a field of energy, or an airplane has a field of energy, and maybe this thing is a natural phenomenon that also has a field of energy. And so those two kind of interact, and we interpret that as being something conscious, but it's just the way that two fields are playing off of each other. And that may very well be the case. But nonetheless, I've talked to other people who have claimed that if you get very close to some of these lights, you'll actually see what looks like a little person sitting inside. So, it's impossible for us to know, but the idea that these things could be living also makes us think one step further. Is it possible that everything is alive? That anything that's not at absolute zero, whether it's a rock, obviously we have things like trees that we didn't necessarily used to think of as living thousands of years ago in the same way we think of humans. You have all these things that are surrounding us. Maybe the table you're sitting at actually does have some consciousness, but it just moves very, very slowly. And these things are made of a plasma form, so any type of motion is exaggerated, and therefore you're literally looking at something that has some consciousness, and we're able to see that consciousness expressed more distinctly because it's in this very unstable kind of form that we are able to observe moving and shifting around in relation to its environment.
Very interesting. We're going to take a break right here. When we come back, I'm going to play some of the video clip. Obviously, it's just for me here in the studio. But I'll encourage everybody to go to the links that we have published in Twitter and go and watch the video. Joshua was on the show with us last year with the original Homeland Security footage, and that is part of the video too as well. And we'll discuss all of that and do a review of that original Homeland Security footage, and we'll do that right now. We'll take a break. Our guest tonight, Joshua P. Warren. And the P is there because there's a lot of imposters out there. Never forget that. Joshua P. Warren is our guest. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. More with Joshua right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Joshua P. Warren. Tomorrow night, I want to remind everybody, Chad Kalick is going to be here, his new documentary, Sir No Face. And Wednesday night will be our UFO Community Roundtable. It's going to be a not-to-miss show. And then, of course, Thursday night will be Open Lines Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom. Our guest tonight is Joshua P. Warren. Now, Joshua, I've got the original video up here. I'm going to play the I want you to take everybody through the original Homeland Security footage, and as I play this, I'm going to talk about it. You're going to hear it, but for everybody, when you say this is Homeland Security footage, what do you mean by that?
Okay, well, for one thing, in 2013, because Puerto Rico is an island, people who have lived here a long time, especially people who are native to this island, they all kind of know each other in one way or another. You know, my brother works for this, and my sister's married to that guy, and there was this explosion, this just gossip exploded one day. Oh my God, somebody captured a UFO at the airport at Homeland Security. And one guy I talked to, the first guy who told me about it, he said literally, he says, my brother works at the Homeland Security office in Aguadilla. Now there's an airport right there in the northwestern corner of the island called the Rafael Hernandez Airport, and they do have a big Homeland Security station there, and they have this Border and Customs Control plane that flies around, and they are primarily looking for drug smugglers because since you have Puerto Rico as a territory, if you can get drugs to Puerto Rico, it's going to be much, much easier to smuggle them into the United States rather than going directly to a state. And so this is one of the big challenges here, is preventing various types of smuggling. And so they're always on the lookout for weird things. And so I had heard that, one of these thermal cameras captured a UFO. And I said, oh man, well, how can I see it? And it was like everybody knew about it, but nobody had a copy of it. And after a while, I kind of blew it off. I thought, well, I guess that somebody probably got excited about something. But I kept hearing about it and kept hearing about it. And then eventually this appeared on the internet. Somebody leaked it on the internet. To this day, I don't know who leaked it on the internet. That's probably a very good thing, because I don't want to end up as part of some congressional hearing on who leaked, Homeland Security footage.
Right.
But nonetheless, there was a group of scientists, mainstream scientists, that got this footage. They went to the airport, and they started going through the process of vetting this. They were able to authenticate the footage. And by the way, I mean, I fly in and out of that airport all the time. I have gone there since this footage has come out, and I have seen every spot. I mean, even the spot on the water where this thing went in and out of the water, which we'll talk more about that in a minute. And ultimately, in this 162-page report, these scientists break down every single aspect of this footage, and I have never, ever seen a piece of UFO footage analyzed this properly and professionally and in such great detail. So this is one of those cameras that usually would be detecting drug smugglers, but in this case, it detects this object, which was so bizarre, it actually caused them to ground all the flights while this thing was zipping around the airport.
The entire 162-page report is available over at Joshua's website, and you can download it. It's a PDF, and it's right there, and it's free. Very cool that you have that up there. Now, what I'm going to do here, Joshua, I'm going to start the footage.
Around 9:20 p.m. on April 25th, 2013.
Now,
an infrared thermal camera spotted this object flying over 120 miles per hour around the airport.
Now, it's black in the footage. It's black and white, and it's flying directly over the airport. And to me, first off, it's big. It's not small. It's not like it's 6 inches or something like that. It looks to me like it's 3, 4, 5 feet across. But it looks to me that it is changing shape, and I don't even know if I'm using the right words there, but it doesn't, because it's flying at 120 miles an hour, and it doesn't look aerodynamic, but it does look like it morphs, and I don't know how to put it other than it looks like it's intelligent, like it's doing it on purpose, because it doesn't change speed, it doesn't slow down, but it definitely changes shape. Am I describing it the right way when I say that?
Yeah, and actually, I mean, would you like for me to sort of audibly paint the picture for everybody about the entire video, or are you going to play the audio from the video?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Tell us what's going on.
So the actual video shows this phenomenon occurring for a full 3 minutes. So basically, we're talking about footage that was shot around 9:20 p.m. Now, mind you, in days leading up to this, people in the community had been seeing at night weird red lights in the sky. And there was one guy who, as it turns out, is a friend named Mike Rios, who had contacted me, freaking out because he lives there in Aguadilla, and he had been seeing these lights and taking pictures of them, and I included some of those photos in the video report.
Right.
So on this night in August, or actually I forget if it was April or August, you have to forgive me on that. It was anyway in 2013. The object appeared flying around the airport, and when you watch this thing, as you said, Jimmy, it's a black object that the scientists determined is probably 3 to 5 feet in diameter, but it has this very bizarre, irregular shape. And as this thing is zipping around the airport at 120 miles per hour, it does not have a squawking transponder. It is not communicating with the tower in any way whatsoever. It is showing blatant disregard for all of the usual security protocols one would anticipate around an airport. As this thing is flying around, going over the highway with cars moving beneath and all that, the camera is tracking it. It's over 100 degrees on the exterior. And what is absolutely astounding is at one point, this object, which it does have a shape-shifting kind of sort of appearance, at one point it goes from traveling 120 miles per hour to slipping seamlessly underneath the surface of the ocean, where it continues to travel at 95 miles per hour. Now, the camera continues tracking this thing as it's moving under the surface of the ocean, and it kind of dips in and out of the water a few times, and then finally it comes out of the water, but this time it is now joined by a second object. So now we have two of these things. Essentially, it appears like it's gone under the water, picked up a buddy. Now they both come out. This is not some kind of an optical illusion. This is thermal imaging, which gives us a lot more data than just a normal camera. So now we have two of these things that are flying around about 100 miles per hour, and then the two of them ultimately go back into the ocean for good. And the camera is still sort of panning around and searching and trying to find them again, and it cannot. Now, just to clarify for those listening who are totally unfamiliar with this whole environment that I'm describing, I went about a week and a half ago to the actual location where those objects went under the water. And I had to drive down this kind of rugged trail, and I came out at this beautiful beach with these big craggy cliffs and waves crashing on the shore. I mean, it was one of the most beautiful beaches I'd ever seen, and here I am. There was hardly anybody around. So here I am standing there, and I'm looking out at the exact spot where this thing was traveling under the water, and my imagination is just going wild. I'm thinking, God, could you imagine what it would have been like to be standing on this beach that night and to see how this appeared? And as I continued to use my imagination, it occurred to me that if all this water I was looking at were suddenly gone, that it would more or less look like that I was standing on the edge of the Grand Canyon, except for the fact that the Grand Canyon is only a little over 6,000 feet deep. The trench there is almost 30,000 feet deep. So deep that if you put Mount Everest down in this trench, just a little tip would be sticking up. It is the deepest point in the Atlantic Ocean. It is the second deepest point in the entire world after the Marianas Trench and the Pacific Ocean. So there is this unbelievable, again, it's a trench, call it a crevasse, call it what you will, that goes so deep that you can't even imagine how far down this thing goes. And that's where they went. So obviously, these things, they must have some kind of base or hangout or whatever down there under the water. And that may be one of the reasons that we have such difficulty in documenting the existence of these, because these are not things that flew off into outer space. I mean, you hear all the time about these UFOs that just zip off into the sky and are gone. These go into the water and they don't come back out. And that's what you see in the footage.
One of the most impressive moments in the film is when it goes into the water, and I can't explain this. I want to hear your opinion on this. There's no splash. Mm-hmm. It obviously goes into and you can see it moving under the water. You can see it traveling, and it's moving at 90, 100 miles an hour at this point. And anything entering the water at 90 miles an hour, you're going to see a huge splash. And that doesn't happen. What's going on there?
Well, there must be one of two things happening, or perhaps both things happening. I should point out that when you watch this thing flying around, it doesn't have wings. It doesn't have a propeller. There's no evidence of any type of traditional propulsion or power supply or anything like that. So we're already breaking the rules for how we understand things that fly around at 120 miles per hour to begin with. When we see it seamlessly enter the ocean, the first thing that occurred to me was, all right, if this is some type of irregular shaped and even shape-shifting thing, then that may be because it is specifically designed to transition between water and air, and that basically it can change shape within a millisecond. So as this thing is entering the water, it is literally morphing itself on a molecular level to sort of integrate with the structure and the lattice, if you will, of the water molecules so that it's able to just slip right in and slip right out. That's one possibility. The second one is that these things may not primarily exist within this particular dimension that we consider, the 3 dimensions, or at most the 4 dimensions. I've said many times there's no reason scientifically to believe that life must exist exclusively within this range that we consider the physical realm. And so it could be that these things don't interact with matter as fully as you and I do to begin with, because we're seeing one aspect of a thing that it has most of its mass slightly ajar from this particular physical plane. And if you think that sounds crazy, just talk to the latest astrophysicists and cosmologists who are talking about parallel universes and dark matter and dark energy and all that business. There is a precedent for this type of thinking. And so therefore, it may be that either this is, again, able to shapeshift so perfectly that it merges those 2 realms without a hitch, or it's somewhat of an interdimensional thing, or both. And I'm open to a third suggestion if you've got one also.
Totally. And the other thing is, I was trying to see if it was some type of optical illusion, right? But no, it clearly changes direction and goes into the water. That's intentional. And the camera is tracking its speed. It's going along with it, and then poof, it pops out and continues flying, and it's at the same speed as it entered the water. And when it comes out of the water, there's no splash again. It doesn't. Your brain is being fooled here because you're expecting the splash at the what's the word, the ingress and the egress, right? You're expecting both of those, and neither of them happens.
Yeah, and of course, when you watch this footage, I mean, again, the most fantastic thing about this footage is that this was shot with a thermal camera, which has data. I mean, when you look at this footage, there's data all over the screen. And so if you know what you're looking at and you know how to read that data, there's an enormous amount of information that you can glean from that. And that's why all these scientists were so excited to get this footage. Now, of course, this footage only takes up about 2 minutes of my 12-minute video report, because I opened the video report with this footage because it is such a strong piece of evidence. But then I went on to show all of these other pictures and video clips that people all over the island have been capturing, including myself, and in many cases have been inviting these things to appear, and they respond. And what you find is that it's not like that these objects are just sort of, zooming around out there and doing their own thing oblivious to us. Time and time again, it appears that they actually will show up somewhat on command. But they seem to travel so quickly that most people probably don't ever actually even realize they have them captured. I mean, think about this. We have this illusion that, okay, well, we live in this day and age where there are cameras all over the place, and if UFOs are flying around, well, we ought to have everybody capturing them all the time, every day. But how many people out there are just pointing a camera at the sky for no apparent reason, and then going back later and slowing that footage down and watching it? Almost nobody does that. It's very boring most of the time. But if you do that, you quickly become familiar with birds. Okay, that's a bird. That's an insect. I mean, we know how these things move. We know how they fly. And so I think that it's possible these things might be flying around all the time. I actually included in the video report a news report from Denver, Colorado, of people capturing an extremely similar phenomenon there. And so what I would love to do is get a hold of one of these really high-speed cameras and put it here and in some of these other hot spots and just film the sky, and then have a software program that will go through and analyze that and pick out things for us that are amazing. And we might find, Jimmy, that these are not only all over the place, but that literally, for some reason, they respond to our desire for them to show up. And this is the weirdest thing of all.
The lifeguard, when he, and you can tell us his name and stuff in a second, but when his photographs showed up, also whoever shot the cattle with that object behind and above the cattle was interesting. We'll come to that in a second. But the lifeguard was going back and looking at these photographs of things that he didn't know that he had captured in these images. And for the life of me, I want you to tell us about how he contacted you and who he is. But that one shot, Joshua, looks to me, now I know this is going to sound crazy to the audience, but it looks like an interdimensional space shuttle. That's what it looks like. It looks like it's got the shape of a lifting body craft, and apparently he shot it came out of the water, right? Who is the lifeguard?
His name is Daniel Metas Velez. And I'm in Boca Raton, and for people who don't know anything about Puerto Rico, most people who come here just go to San Juan, which is close to the northwestern corner of the island. And I am almost completely opposite of that San Juan is the northeastern corner, and I'm almost opposite of that on the southwestern corner.
Right.
And so I'm here where most tourists don't ever go if they're from outside of Puerto Rico. And so word kind of gets back to me quickly if somebody captures something bizarre around here, because everybody knows I'm the weird UFO guy who's studying all this stuff. And so I was in the Poblado, the downtown, and I went into a bar, if you can imagine that. It happens sometimes.
Right.
And I was told, hey, you got to see this picture. This lifeguard came in here and showed me yesterday. I said, really? Oh, yeah. And so I ended up getting a phone number for this guy. I called him, and he and his wife met me and my friend C. Eric Scott, who is a filmmaker who was visiting at that time. Eric actually shot that interaction. And so we got together, and here's one thing that I think is very important to stress to you and everybody else listening. When I do a proper analysis of a photograph, I prefer to meet you in person and have you hand me your telephone that has that original snapshot on it. And I take that picture off of your phone directly, that raw original file, and I put it onto my phone. And so this is not like somebody emails it to me after it's been resaved or whatever. No, the images that you see in this video were images that I directly took.
So you know the provenance of everything.
That's right. Even the one, which we'll get to, where you see the object hovering over the field full of cows. I met that man in person. I took this image directly off of his telephone. And Daniel Velez had a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just showed a couple examples. This guy is a lifeguard who's out there on the water every day, and he has tons of video and great images. And he, however, said, I am a direct descendant of the Taino Indians. And he surprised me because he went on to say, oh, yeah, this is something that's been passed down from generation to generation. He says, my great-grandfather to my grandfather to my father to me. We know about these things, and we know that we can. He didn't use the word telepathic, but he was basically insinuating that they can read their minds, okay? And you can even see him in the video talking about this. And he says that what he will do is put himself in a meditative state where he is inviting them to show up, and then he will just put his phone out there with his eyes closed, and he'll just sort of scan the horizon. And then when he plays it back, boom, you see one of these things. They're traveling so fast that at first, you might just think you have a little glitch on your image. But when you slow it down, you see something incredible there, as I demonstrated in the video. And that's when I became really fascinated about the fact that this is more than some kind of, random occurrence where somebody captures a UFO. Right. There is a tradition of this kind of thing happening.
This object here, what did you think? I mean, I see a craft. I see the glint of the sun off the front. It looks like, it's like a lift, like the space shuttle. That's the way it hits me. I don't know how it hits you, but I see almost wings, and I see a superstructure, a structure underneath. I don't know how to explain it, but that definitely doesn't look like a bird. And it's also very big too. It's hard for me to judge, but in the photograph, it's above the water, and compared to the trees, this is something substantial. What did you think when you saw this object?
Well, the first thing I did was scratch my head, because we are so conditioned to think of the traditional, UFO looking like just a normal saucer or some type of triangle or whatever. And when you start seeing these kind of irregular looking things, it throws you for a loop. I mean, one of the coolest things about this particular set of images is that in the first one, this object is literally halfway in and halfway out of the water. So you see it breaking the surface. Honestly, Jimmy, this may be the only photograph known to exist that shows one of these things halfway in and halfway out of the water.
Right.
So this may be I've never seen anything like it. And then in the blink of an eye, it's in the sky. So you see, these weird little portions of it extending from the water, and then bang, here it is in the sky. And when you're looking at this structure in the sky, and it almost has, like you said, a shuttle blimp-esque kind of overall appearance. What's so bizarre is that when you start looking at it and really trying to figure out what you're seeing, not only does it look slightly irregular in many ways, but you wonder, is this something that is so metallic that it's reflecting part of the sky, which makes a part of it look transparent, or is it literally kind of transparent in this area? And you also notice when you look at the object that's flying over top of the cows, it's got these two little appendages around it, but those appendages look like they're disconnected from the main object. And so you get this sense that when you're looking at these things, that they don't seem like a solid fixed structure. And I'm not saying that they aren't. I'm just saying they don't look that way, that they're moving in a certain way, or they're reflecting light in a certain way, or they are existing in this dimension versus another dimension in a certain way, so that they're kind of here and kind of there, and they just don't neatly fit into this category that we are all expecting and looking for. And that may be why that we've had so little success in proving that they are around, because we're not seeing them at face value like we should be.
We're going to take a break right here. I just posted up on Twitter a little screen capture of Joshua's video. It's absolutely incredible. You tell me, does that look like some kind of craft? That's what it looks like to me. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Joshua P. Warren. More with Joshua right after this. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
So I get out of the shower this morning. I'm looking in the mirror, and not to brag, but my beach body is coming back. I'm not fearing shorts and bathing suits this summer. And thanks to naturesyouth.com, I'm here to help you too. The anti-aging experts, Nature's Youth RSF, they've developed an all-natural amino acid supplement that supports my body to naturally increase HGH levels without synthetic hormones. You see, HGH, or human growth hormone, it's produced by the pituitary gland, and it's essential for growth and regeneration of my cells and tissues. Elevated HGH levels can contribute to not only increasing my energy, improving my libido, and reducing my body fat, but overall improving my exercise capacity. Now, just by watching what I eat, doing a little exercise, and taking my daily dose of Nature's Youth RSF, I'm in a swimsuit, and I'm happy to be there. My beach body is back. I want you to get yours. Join me today and look better and less with help from Nature's Youth. It's easy. Go to naturesyouth.com. That's naturesyouth.com. And bring on the sunshine.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. There's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple enough, at JChurchRadio. You can follow Joshua at Joshua P. Warren on Twitter. Talking about OUFOs, and we're going through this video footage. And I got to say, Joshua, that I posted up that quick screen grab, and the overwhelming response is, that's a craft. I mean, it looks mechanical. It looks like the space shuttle. That's what it looks like to me. Going back to his other footage that he's taking in the sky, some of the ball-shaped stuff too as well. Do you think that is what is glowing? The red orbs that were photographed leading up to the Homeland Security footage. You think they're the same?
Well, yeah, I think so. There's no way to know for sure, but all of these residents, of course, were reporting seeing that leading up to what we have on the Homeland Security footage. So it's most likely the same thing, but we can't know for sure. But it looks like that in general, if you take one particular example of any of this stuff, and you just look at that one thing, it's easy to say, okay, this is some kind of a spaceship, this is some kind of a craft. But when you watch the entire video, which is why I made a video, when you see all these things compared to each other, and you get the evidence that's put in there about how they interact, how they behave, that's when you start opening up to the fact that, okay, maybe this is not, again, a machine with a little guy inside the steering wheel.
There's one of the other compelling parts of the video, and for everybody, if you go, it's about halfway in, maybe 7 minutes in, 6 minutes in, 7 minutes in. there's a section there where you set up, I want to call it a summoning apparatus, right?
Yeah, right.
And
I like that.
Yes,
Summoning apparatus.
Summoning apparatus. And but you capture this shot of an object shaped like a ball. It's up in the clouds, but the trippy thing is when you slow down the footage, it shoots up and goes into the clouds. Now that I've seen stuff like this before myself with my own eyes, but to see it captured and to see how it zips out in what is it? Probably 3 or 4 frames, right? And you would never know if you saw it with your naked eye. You would just think that it was blip blip there and gone, but you happen to capture it, and when you look at the video frame slowed down, it's flying back up into the clouds. First question, what do you think the altitude was?
Well, and also, let me just say, one of the most amazing things about that clip is that it also apparently made a noise or created, this whistling sound. So you see this little black, and just to set this up for the proper context, we did an experiment in which we broadcast a signal into space. I hooked up with a friend of mine, Investigator Ellis, who's a ham radio expert, and we used a special frequency that would actually cut through the ionosphere and make it into outer space. We used wishing machines. We used just telepathy. We used every mechanism we had in order to put out a set of coordinates asking for something to appear. And at that set of coordinates, I had a webcam. And here you see, sure enough, we let this webcam run for like 8 hours. At one point, here was this object, this black object that looks very much like most of the things captured around here, that appears and shoots straight up into the sky while making this whistling sound. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to this question of how big was it, how high was it, scientifically speaking, I have no way of knowing that because I had one camera, I had one point of view. Now, if I had 2 or especially 3 cameras that all captured this, then I could give you a real answer. But this subject is so, I think, important that I don't want to speculate because I have no way of gauging the scale of what we're seeing there.
Well, I'll help you gauge. What do you think the cloud, it disappears into the clouds. So that cloud cover, what's your guesstimate? 5,000 feet, 10,000 feet?
Well, it could be, but I wouldn't even say it necessarily goes into the clouds. It may just look that way, because again, you're only seeing the perspective of the camera, and it might just sort of phase out. Because it disappears doesn't necessarily mean that it goes into the clouds. It could be an illusion, but if it does go into the clouds, I haven't actually looked into what kind of cloud that is, but certain types of clouds hover at a certain level, so that would be one way of potentially guessing on it. Yeah,
you're being very pragmatic here, and I appreciate that. The friggin' thing appears and ducks into the clouds, man. That's exactly what happens. It's an astonishing piece of footage, man. And congratulations on grabbing that. The human eye, if you see something like that, it would just blip. That's it. That's all you would see. And you just happen to have the camera at the right place at the right time. I want to ask you this. We always, when we think of Puerto Rico, we think of the movie Contact. We think of Arecibo. There has to be some kind of connection here. And I think we would be remiss not to attempt to make a connection. Do you think there is something going on?
Oh, yeah. Well, the Arecibo Observatory held the record for being the largest radio telescope on planet Earth up until just recently when the Chinese built a bigger one. And so for decades, we're talking since the 1960s, this area has been what you would consider Earth's telephone to the cosmos. And it really still is our telephone to the cosmos, because I don't expect the Chinese are going to turn around and announce to us everything that they're finding on their new toy. And so it's still the biggest one that you and I have access to. And yes, they have done all manner of experimentation with that telescope, because a lot of people might think it's just a big dish that's sitting there quietly listening to the universe. But no, it is actually a part of HARP. And it's an ionospheric heater. So that means instead of it being passive, they can also turn it into an active device, and they can transmit signals with it to various degrees. And so they have tried to transmit communications back related to the WOW signal. In other cases, they've done things that are probably more sinister. I mean, one time I was at the Arecibo Observatory. I think I mentioned this to you on a previous show, and I was talking to one of the staff members who told me something that she probably was not authorized to say, and I think she kind of realized she slipped up, but she said that, you know, when they would fire that thing up, that birds would fly over and explode, and she laughed and said they use that every Thanksgiving, you know, for the turkey, that kind of thing. And so, you know, you're talking about a very dynamic spot where you have energy from the cosmos being both received and you have energy that's being projected out there. And it is certainly an area that would be outstanding for any type of visitor from beyond.
Now, let's go back really quick. We kind of skipped over this. The shot with the cattle. I've got I captured a screenshot of that. I'm going to post it up in Twitter here right now. Tell us about who shot that and what is actually going on before and after the image was taken, because he didn't know he had taken that shot, right?
That's right. The man who took that picture is named Daniel Imott. And again, I met him in person. I insisted on that. And he was a very nice guy. As a matter of fact, he works as a professional scientist. And part of my arrangement was he did not want me to specifically say anything about the work that he does. I wish I could, because it's very interesting and it may or may not have a relationship to all this. But he's a very pragmatic, you know, realistic, down-to-earth man. And he has an uncle who owns a farm out toward an area called Lajas. And so one afternoon he was going to visit his uncle. And as he got close to the farm, he saw all the cows just going nuts. He'd never seen them act like this before. And so he just started taking pictures with his phone. And then later he looked at his pictures, and here he saw this incredible object. It almost looks like the cows can see it. I mean, it's hovering right over top of them. And this object looks absolutely classic. It's just like textbook for these types of things that we see flying around here.
I have to give an update real quick. I got to jump in here. 1 minute left, and it is Golden State up 126 to 115. They're up by 11, and there you go. Now it's less than a minute left, and it looks like Golden State is about to win the NBA Finals. Now 50 seconds left. Like I said, they're up by 11. I feel like doing a play-by-play here, Joshua, really quick. Three-point shot is good from Steph Curry. It's now 129 to 115. They're letting the clock run down. And LeBron James, they're going to let him score. And that's it. That's it. It looks like 30 seconds left, Joshua. So there you go. Golden State is about to win the NBA Finals, and they're just going to let Steph Curry go down, take a three-point shot, which is no good. And 20 seconds left. Okay, I'll announce it right now. Golden State has won the NBA Finals, and we can ignore that. Now, back to this amazing shot. The object, when you look at it full frame with the cattle, it is humongo. It is not small. This is not something that is flashing by in the background or anything like that. This is a substantial sized object. And when you look at the cattle, again, Joshua, I need you to make a guesstimate here. You look at the cattle, you look at the hillside, you look at the sky in the background, you look at this object that is captured there, which is behind the cattle, and it's huge. It takes up a very large part of the shot. What do you think the size of this object is?
Well, you know, when the scientists who studied the footage from Homeland Security said that they had good data that object was 3 to 5 feet in diameter, I think that is probably a pretty good standard for most of the things that we're seeing, that they are, I will say 5 feet in diameter or smaller perhaps. But, you know, the problem that you run into when you're trying to judge that kind of thing with one perspective is that you could have something that's small, that's close to the camera, or something that's big, that's far away. And so, you know, I'm going to say that, yeah, to me it looks like it might be 6 feet in diameter, but that's just, you know, a guess.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the Billy Meyer hoax territory when you're dealing with, you know, depth of field stuff, because
Right.
you can be deceived completely. But this photograph, again, everybody's looking at it now on Twitter, and the comments are all the same. Awesome. This is pretty good. Yeah, I haven't seen anything like this. And I think everybody will agree that this is a strange capture. And I don't know how to explain it. Plus, there's a little like dome little thing on the top of that too as well. Now, do you put this in the OUFO category?
Yeah, I mean, I think that everything in that video should at least be considered as an OUFO. And the reason I say that is we have to look at the full context here. That we're talking about the semis, and you know, I address how that the semis that the ancient Taínos were talking about might apply to all this, and also it sort of smacks of this discussion about how that this frequency we call life is able to sort of manifest in general. Like, for example, I know we might not get around to Para-Cymatics tonight.
No, we're going to. We'll do that after the break.
Okay. But it's very similar, because what we're really talking about here is the idea that over time, I believe that we are going to change the way we think of the relationship between man and machine. So we're already, you know, heading down that cyborg type road, if you will,
right?
And we know it's inevitable. So let's imagine that these are beings that have been around for, I don't know, let's just say 1 million years longer than we have. Maybe part of that evolution is blurring that line. And that, you know, essentially, let me just also, this may seem like a tangent, but I find it fascinating. You know, scientists did not know that dinosaurs existed until the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, they've always been there. They've just been, you know, right there below the surface. But anybody who came across a dinosaur, like a pterodactyl or something, oh, we had dragons that used to fly around here. So it's possible that these things are all around us. And, you know, you probably saw, I'm sure, the interview that Robert Bigelow gave the other day where on 60 Minutes, where Lara Logan asked him, so if we go into space, are we going to encounter aliens? And he goes, you don't have to go to space. They're right here under your nose.
Right.
So I think that it may be that these things are all around us all the time, but the reason that we haven't been seeing them is because we're expecting them to be, again, little guys flying machines around, and sometimes that is the case. But probably most of them are not like that. They're a form of life that's moving in a different way than what we expect to see.
Now, tell us, you go into the museum, and are those objects, they're called semi? Yeah,
CEMI. They call them the semi.
It's the semi. And now, when you first walked into the museum and you start to look at these are maybe you should describe them, but these are stone representations of something that they were seeing. Very important to them that they would carve them. They all look very similar in shape, but they have different representations. Some have faces, some don't. But they're very similar to what is being shot in the skies in Puerto Rico as well. Tell us about the museum and what are those?
Yeah, well, the Sami were apparently what the Taino Indians considered lesser gods. So in other words, they believed that there was one supreme god, and then they believed that there were these sort of smaller, well, we might think of them as angels or something like that, but they were interactive beings. And what's funny is that, Jimmy, over the past 11 years, I have gone to all the museums. I've gone to the universities here. I've talked to all the experts on the Taino, and every one of them will tell you it's so sad. We really don't know exactly what the Taino were believed because it was so suppressed. I mean, the Taino were enslaved and worked literally into extinction by the conquistadors. And so therefore, they've always guessed that maybe these little idols that kind of look like, again, maybe a Hershey Kiss shape that's about 1 to 2 feet in diameter have perhaps represented the mountains, because they always said, well, the Taino believed that the gods lived in the skies and in the mountains and all that. And so, but I'm looking at these things and I'm comparing them to the footage and I'm thinking, well, maybe these Samis, which, by the way, they call the entity Samis and they call the idols Samis. So it's like maybe what we're looking at here is literally some type of a representation of what we're now beginning to understand from a new modern point of view. And they would not only worship them, but they considered them, fortunate, beings of good fortune. And they had these ceremonies that I talk about in the video, in which their sort of resident medicine man, the Bohique, would snort this substance from the Cohabana tree called, what was the seeds in the cabana is what they would call it. Or I'm sorry, the cahoba is what they would call it. And he would have these experiences where he would be able to sense these beings. And it may be that when you do this, it alters the way the brain works, and that it sort of changes the rate of processing time, and might have allowed those ancient medicine men to have more awareness of these things flying around, which we now are able to document better with technology.
Change the frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense. And that would also correlate back into an interdimensional possibility that, something is out there that is next to us as you and I are speaking to each other. It's just on another frequency. We can't see it. Can't taste it, can't smell it, can't touch it, but adjust to the same frequency, and then boom, you see everything that is out there that is around us. Makes total sense if you think about it.
Well, yeah, because, really that was all they had in those days. For one thing, we know how aware that ancient people were of the sky, because we grew up in a world in which we were taught, okay, it's round, it's blue, we've walked on the moon out there, we know there's this many planets. I mean, we had this very nice little model sort of laid out for us. These people grew up in ancient times in a scenario in which they had no idea what was necessarily over the next hill or mountain, not to mention what's up there in the sky. So they were acutely aware of that. And so when they would take drugs, it wasn't just a recreational thing, especially when it was done ritualistically like the cahoba was done. I mean, it was monitored very carefully and notes were taken. And so it is certainly possible that there is a way for the mind to perceive these things under the influence, so to speak, that cannot be done otherwise unless you have modern technology. And I actually do have some modern day medicine men who are going to undergo this same tribal ritual. They're going to snort the Cohobana beans and let me document it, and I'm going to do some tests with them to see exactly what happens and what they can and cannot perceive.
Are you going to do a little yourself?
No, I'm not going to. For one thing, obviously, I'm going to be documenting what happens when they do it. But otherwise, I mean, you get sick when you do it,
right?
So that doesn't sound like fun. And furthermore, I don't know. I guess I've just kind of reached a point in life where I'm happy with where I am, and I don't want to mess with it too much. You know
Is it legal?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I've never heard anybody bring it up in a legal setting. I mean, I think that, you know, people don't do this anymore because it does make you sick. So there's probably no legislation about it. But if there is, you know, it doesn't matter. Well, if they want to do it, I'll document it.
Well, Cortana just tweeted out, "You should snort it for science, Joshua." The very interesting. You know, they're going to be Twitter's going to light up now. They're going to go and find out what this bean is.
Well, you know what? Let me tell you, I don't want to inspire anybody to do this.
Right.
But if somebody has experience with it, I would love to hear from that person because you know, again, this is the cahoba is what the ritual was called, and it was snorting the ground up beans or seeds of the Cohobana tree.
Cohobana. Okay, there you go. We're going to head towards a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about Para-Cymatics. But before we do, I wanted to get your final summation here, because when you look at the Sami and you look at the stone carvings, look, it doesn't take a stretch of the imagination to see the outline of the classic flying saucer. That is not hard to do. It looks like that. Could that be what everybody has been seeing and videotaping and talking about all of these years?
Well, yeah. I mean, to me, there must be some kind of a natural shape that makes it easy for these things to move around. Like, for example, you can look at a bird and you can look at an airplane. Now, these are two entirely different things.
Right.
But they look very similar because there are certain physical properties that are necessary for them to move around in the same environment. And so that's why I say to accept the fact that there are these things that I'm calling OUFOs does not in any way diminish the possibility that there are machines out there which are typical flying saucer type machines. And it's so funny, every time you use the word flying saucer, you feel like it's the 1960s.
You do. You know, I do. Yes. You can't help it. You can't. Eric just tweeted out, "Send me to Puerto Rico. I'll take one for the team." So there you go. All right, Joshua, let's take a break right here. And when we come back, we'll talk about Para-Cymatics. Our guest tonight, Joshua P. Warren. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. We'll be right back.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn
it. This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, the planet. Our guest tonight, Joshua P. Warren. We just went through a complete discussion on OUFOs, organic UFOs, tremendous imagery, and the video and the presentation, the research. You need to go check it out. Just go to joshuapwarren.com. Everything is there. Now, Joshua, Para-Cymatics. Help me out here. What are we talking about?
Okay. Let me start by saying this really sort of begins, Jimmy, in 2010. And that year, I traveled for the first time to Key West, Florida, to investigate the notorious Robert the Haunted doll.
Right.
And that was actually a remarkable experience because, you know, Robert the doll, for people listening who may not know, he's over 100 years old. He's big. He's about 3 feet tall. He looks like a little sailor. And people have been saying for 100 years this doll comes to life and is at very least mischievous. And I know that sounds completely insane to, you know, even conceive of a doll coming to life, but nonetheless, that's what people have said. And I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about Robert the doll because you can look that up on your own. But I went down there to investigate him, and he is in a museum now, and he sits underneath a big glass display case. And he'd been under that display case for at least 4 years. But fortunately, the people of Key West who were in charge there gave me the opportunity to investigate him without the glass. And so these two guys came out with big suction cups, and they picked this big, heavy glass up, and I got to spend about an hour doing, you know, taking measurements on this doll. And one thing I immediately realized was that glass blocks most UV light. And that's why when you're riding down the road, you don't usually get a sunburn through your car window because it's blocking the UV.
Right.
So I took advantage of this opportunity and I shined a UV light on Robert the doll. And when I did that, something appeared that was otherwise invisible to the naked eyes. There was this little symbol that popped up on his sleeve, and it kind of looked like a distorted snowflake.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. So I took pictures of that, And now, again, you'd never know it was there. And I may have been the very first person to ever shine a UV light on Robert because, again, most people didn't have the access because he had that glass over him.
Right.
So so after that, I started, becoming curious about this. The story was always that Robert was created by a woman who was from the Caribbean, who was involved with voodoo. She was a servant, basically, who became disgruntled with the family she was with and made this, kind of cursed little doll. And by the way, Jimmy, hopefully nothing will go wrong technically, because a lot of times when you start talking about Robert the doll, weird things happen on the line. I'm just tossing that out there.
It has happened with you a few times. So
yes.
let's ride this one out, my friend.
Okay. I was talking to my mom about this the other day, and the line just disconnected as soon as I said his name. So anyhow, I became very curious about this, and the more I did research on this, it seemed like this was what is called a sigil. Now, a sigil is a seal that a magician will put on some type of object to literally represent the final energy field that has been placed upon the object. Now, this is a term that goes back thousands of years. All the way in the ancient Hebrew, they called it segula, which meant a word or an action, and then in the Latin, it's sigillum, and it literally means seal. So what you find is often an abstract image, but that image somehow represents this energy pattern. So I became very curious about these magical sigils and whether or not a symbol like that could carry some power. Now, I'm very interested in radionics and wishing machines, and if anybody doubts the power of symbolism, just look at what you keep in your wallet.
Right.
It's a piece of paper, but it rules the world, that piece of paper. So symbols have real power. So I started looking deeply into symbols and the relationship between symbols and the energy that creates them, and it led me straight to this field of study called cymatics. Now, it starts with this German scientist named Ernst Chladni, who lived in the late 1700s and early 1800s. And he would take these thin sheets of metal and sprinkle sand or salt on top of them. And then he would run a violin bow down the side and watch these patterns form in the salt. It would snap into these amazing little snowflake-looking patterns. And you can do this yourself easily. If you take a thin piece of material, again, like metal especially, you sprinkle some salt or some sand on it, you put it over top of an audio speaker, and you play different tones, you will see that sand or that salt snap into all these amazing patterns. And it's not just a two-dimensional thing. I mean, you can see it three-dimensionally. If you put something like cornstarch in water, you'll see these forms rise up and move around. Just get on YouTube and type in cymatics, Cymatics, and you'll see just the coolest videos of how that it literally shows that this non-physical thing, this vibration, this sound, is able to somehow connect with the material world and create these designs and patterns. So I figured this was a very good, tangible place for me to start researching that connection between the invisible energy world and the physical world. So I started doing all kinds of experiments here in my lab in Puerto Rico in the Bermuda Triangle. And then I became really curious because I started taking bowls of water. Now, you have to realize a lot of the stuff I research here has to do with water because, again, I'm in the Bermuda Triangle.
Right.
So I started taking actual salt water from the Bermuda Triangle and fresh water and tonic water and all kinds of things. And I would put them over top of speakers and I would play different sounds. And then and the water just turns into these incredible, just bizarre, undulating, but very organized patterns at different frequencies. And then I was reminded of what I did with Robert. So I started viewing these under infrared light, ultraviolet light, laser light, And I've never heard of anybody doing that before. And what I realized is when I would look at these water patterns with different types of light, you would see different aspects of the pattern. So I started recording all that, and then I thought, okay, I'm creating these cool patterns. I'm seeing all these things that you don't ordinarily see with the naked eye. How do I take this to the next step, the magical step? And that's when, boom, the light bulb goes off, and what I now call Para-Cymatics was born. I decided at that point that instead of simply playing tones, I would actually sit down and record a message of some kind and interweave it with the tone and then see what pattern was created. So, for example, the first one that I did was, and people tell me I'm crazy for this, but what's new? I sat down and I said, I am attracting a ghost to appear tonight, okay? And you can see my words in the water when I say this.
Right.
So I videotaped this, and then I took that video, and I got stills from it, and my wife, Lauren, is an artist, and I gave her the stills, and she did not know what I was up to, and I said, hey, can you take this still, which I'd converted to black and white, and just draw a little sketch of what you see? And she says, okay. So she drew a little sketch, and my wife is not like me, okay? She is not a paranormal investigator. We've been together for 20 years.
Joshua, this just sounds like a bad idea. Just sounds like a bad... Okay, go ahead.
You're very intuitive, Jimmy.
Oh, man. Okay,
yeah,
so she draws it.
Yeah, so she draws it, she gives it to me, and then she goes to bed. Well, so after she went, and I was going to be up all night. It was one of those deals, you know. And so I took the thing that she had drawn, which was a very nice representation of this image that I'd captured, and I took the actual picture that I gave her, the actual picture of the water under infrared light, and I took the sketch that she made, and I put them on the bedroom door. Now, my wife is a very sound sleeper, not like me. I toss and turn all the time.
No.
The demons are always trying to drag me out of the bed, you know.
Oh, man.
And so I'm watching TV, and 4:30 in the morning, my wife comes down in the middle of the night, and she said, "Did you come in the bedroom?" I said, "Nope." And she said, "Well, I think there's a ghost in the bedroom then." And I'm like, yes! And I said, "What are you talking about?" And she said she kept getting shoved really hard, which she'd never had said that before, ever. We've been together for 20 years. She's never said that.
Right.
So I told her what I had done, and she was not happy about that.
No,
and I don't blame her.
No.
And she says, "No more of this on the bedroom door." Well, then I got really excited, and I said, well, man, I'm going to experiment with all kinds of things. I made one to attract money because I love going to casinos. To me, casinos are the most raw, real-world laboratory you can experiment in.
Yeah, sure.
You go into a casino, it's a cold, heartless thing at the end of the day. You know,
Sure.
They just want to, they want to get your money and send you out of there crying.
Right.
So I love doing experiments in casinos. So I made one that said, I am attracting a flow of money. I went to the casino. I had 2 jackpots back to back, each one worth over $1,000. Now that was within, that was less than an hour, probably 45 minutes. I made one of these things that said, I am attracting psychic experiences. And I put this symbol over top of my bed. And that night, I had this extremely vivid dream. Now, granted, I always have vivid dreams, but that night I had a vivid dream that one of my neighbors who's close by was moving out. And it was just like a stupid, mundane thing. Well, guess what? The next day, I came outside and I see them dragging furniture, and it gave me goosebumps at that point because they had decided to move and I knew nothing about it. And that's when I realized, okay, I'm onto something here.
Right.
So I made a bunch of these symbols, and I put them on my website, and I said, I'm just going to give these all away for free and ask for nothing in return but feedback. So I started talking about these things. I think I debuted this April the 1st. I went on Coast to Coast AM, and I talked with George Norrie about this. And since April the 1st, the feedback that I have gotten from people who are using these things is absolutely overwhelming. If you just go to my website, joshuapwarren.com, and you scroll down, you'll see some of them there, and then you can click a link and you'll find the whole page of other ones. All I'm asking for is your feedback. This is not a money-making scheme. This is no type of gimmick like that. I just want you to take one of these things, whatever you're interested in, and I have them for different purposes, look at it at least 5 or 6 times a day, maybe print it out, put it somewhere where you'll see it, and let me know what happens to you. And the funny thing is, you might say, Jimmy, well, it's obvious. You toss anything out there, you're only going to hear from the people who have success. You're not going to hear from all the people who don't. That would be the skeptical or cynical way of viewing this. But the thing is, the people who have success with these say, this thing doesn't only work, but it works in some kind of an astonishing manner that is way against the odds. And so I know there are a lot of questions here, but this is the gist of what I'm talking about, the idea of expressing energy in some type of a symbol that creates a physical manifestation.
Well, okay, I'm printing out, obviously, I'm going to print out the money sigil. I don't need the love sigil because I have Rita in my life, so I'm good there. I don't need the ghost. I don't need the psychic. So I'm going to print out the money sigil. I'm going to post it up for everybody with the bunker cam here in a second. I will show it to you. Let me see. Let me stand up here.
And by the way, if you click that link, there's a link there that has a whole other page of new ones that I produced since then. So there's one for last night. I meant to print this out because I knew we were going to talk about this, and I meant to read it. A guy named Kurt emailed me, and he has been looking for employment forever. And he printed out the employment sigil. And this guy, actually, the employment sigil is meant to help you either gain work or make more money at your work. And he is now making $8,000 more per year, I guess it was, and he just looked at the thing like 5 times. I mean, I have so many of these that are coming in. It's just ridiculous. And there's something to this. And what I found is, Jimmy, when you're doing paranormal research, what is the ultimate point of all this? What is the ultimate reason for being curious and investigating and exploring? It has to be to somehow better human life, right?
And to answer all those questions that we want answered, what is going on with, these supernatural subjects. We want confirmation. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm holding it up to the cameras right now for everybody that is in the bunker cam area. That's what it looks like. And I totally agree with you. Now, where's the rest of the images? Where are the other sigils?
There's a link right there at joshuapwarren.com. And I think it's either.
Oh yeah, I got it. Okay. I'm a doofus. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they're all here. Oh, you've got a UFOs, man. You know what's weird? Yep. In a kind of, what do they call it? The Rorschach test.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? I can't remember. But I see different things in these too as well. Yeah. Wow. The ghost one kind of looks like a fish. I don't know how to explain it. The love and romance kind of looks like a toucan. Do you see that, or is it just me?
No, I see it. And that's the crazy thing. It's like, these are not some kind of symbols that I made up. I mean, this is stuff that occurred naturally when I played this frequency. This is what Mother Nature gave me.
Right. Well, the UFO one looks like a frigging leprechaun. Do you see that? Do you see? You see the? Looks like a leprechaun sitting with his legs. Look at his foot on the left. There's his body. There's his hand. Up into the top, you see the face, the nose, the eye looking forward with a hat. That's a leprechaun. And then attracting, how do you say that? Paranormal beings. How do you say that? Say that word.
Paratemporals. That's another word that I invented. It goes back to a book I wrote called The Secret Wisdom of Kukulkan, in which I coined this term paratemporal, and that is basically a term for any of these beings that appear out of their own position in space and time, because that's what all this paranormal stuff has in common, whether we're talking about ghosts or UFOs or most of the unusual cryptids and psychic phenomena. We're talking about things that appear out of the usual course of space and time. And temporal, of course, refers to time. We could do a whole show just about that subject, but that's what this is. That's a very general sigil to attract any type of paranormal interaction with a paranormal being.
Man, these are incredible. You know, the money, I wonder if Trump has got this tattooed on his butt. Hey, what if you got a tattoo with one of these sigils? Because some of them are very tribal-like.
Yeah, I've actually had a number of people contact me and say they are getting tattoos of these, which is incredible.
I see it. I totally see it.
Tattoos are...
permanent.
Are sigils. Well, tattoos are sigils. And that's why in my opinion, I always say, look, if you're going to get a tattoo, get something positive tattooed on yourself.
Right.
And believe it or not, I get in trouble for saying that, because I every time I say that, I get some kind of, message from somebody who goes, well, I had the worst day of my life tattooed on my arm because I want it to remind me, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. But I personally think that you're going to do better if you don't get the worst day of your life reminding you all the time, if you get something positive that's inspiring you toward what you want to go for.
Right.
And so tattoos are very important, powerful emblems and sigils, and your body is literally going to be, producing that energy that is going to remind you. It's like, for example, I know a person who has a tattoo of a suicide on his or her arm. That's all I'll say. And I was like, why would you get that? I was like, I don't know. I thought it looked cool. I think you have to be very, very careful about what you put on your body, because it is going to change the course of your life. And I personally do not have any tattoos. And that is pretty much because that I view myself as so ever-changing that I can't put anything on my body that I would necessarily be comfortable with in a year. I just, I'm always just moving in some kind of new direction, really. But that said, people who are getting these sigils that I have produced tattooed on their bodies are going to supposedly keep me updated on how this affects their lives, and that's a fascinating prospect.
It's so these are very, very cool looking, very tribal, and it just makes you wonder if some of these indigenous cultures around the world that have these images were able to capture the cymatics of different things that they wanted to have affected in their lives. I think it's beyond coincidence.
You're actually the first person to phrase it that way. And I think that is a brilliant analysis of this, because, these things that are symbols become symbols for some reason.
Right.
Even if it doesn't make sense to us sitting here from our point of view in the year 2017. At the time they were created, there was some meaning there. And these things always represent an energy field. And these are I view these things, these sigils, as being like antennas that work both ways. So, you're a good old-fashioned broadcaster, so, an antenna can be used to receive a signal or to transmit a signal.
Right.
It just depends. So all you really have in traditional broadcasting is you have two antennas, and you can switch the power however you want, and you can send and receive. And so the idea is that the energy is condensed into one of these symbols that represents that energy. But if you come into contact with that symbol, then it exposes you to that energy that created it. And what SyMatics shows us is that this is a real physical phenomenon. So that means anybody listening to this show right now who might think, oh, this sounds a little like cuckoo, new agey kind of crap or whatever. No. SyMatics shows you the reality. I mean, if right there, if you go to my website and you click that link to maybe it might be on my homepage, but I know at some point you'll see a video I shot giving a demonstration. Mm-hmm. It's on YouTube of how the water is responding to these non-physical frequencies. You can see the physical effect there. And what this shows you is that no, this is a real phenomenon that makes a real impact, and it's important to understand that because symbols are just the signature of these vibrations, and vibrations are the molds that hold all of this physical stuff together.
Well, I went ahead, I'm going to roll the dice here. I printed out the attracting the paranormal beings. So I'll keep you posted on that. We're going to be headed towards a break here. What I was thinking, if you want to hang on for a few minutes in the bunker, I'm underground, but I happen to have here, I have to go and get it, so I got to do it during the break, but I have my wishing machine here. And I want to show it to the audience. And can I keep you for another 10 minutes and we'll talk about the wishing machine?
I would love to, because it goes hand in hand with this. And thousands of people all around the world own wishing machines, and those people are taking these sigils and putting them on the wishing machines and having extraordinary success, because it's the same principle that's occurring when you put that symbol onto the machine, but it saves you some trouble.
Well, I have, and I'll share it with everybody when we come back. I think I talked about it maybe 2 or 3 years ago on the air, my little wishing machine experience. Now, I'm not going to disclose what I wished for, but I will go through and well, you know what? I'll save that for after the break. That's the setup. But I'll tell everybody how to use it. We have the bunker cam here. I'll show everybody the wishing machine. And it's one thing to talk about it, but I have it here, and I'll show it to everybody live. And we'll talk about what makes this thing work. It's a pretty extraordinary. I was watching Twitter when you brought up wishing machine at the beginning of the show. The responses from everybody in Twitter about the wishing machine was extraordinary. I can't explain it. I can only say that my experience was really, really cool. So, Joshua, let's do that. Let's go ahead and take a break now. I'll do it 30 seconds early, and we'll come straight back. I'll go get my wishing machine, and we'll have Joshua tell us all about it live on the air. Joshua, you stay right there. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Congratulations, Golden State, your new NBA champions. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Joshua P. Warren. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back.
Hey, what up, y'all? Sugar Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our Super Tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to jimmychurchradio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRAradio.com.
This is KJCR at jimmychurchradio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Joshua at Joshua P. Warren. And really quick, I was just listening to the commercials on the break. Excuse me. Studio Dome right now it has a Father's Day special going tonight and tomorrow night only. Use the promo code DAD17, DAD17. Click on the banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. You will get the complete Studio Dome stereo Bluetooth system, 2 SBB2 speakers, power supply, hard shell case. But just for the Fadernauts, for the next 2 days, the Father Day special, they will throw in a $29 digital tape measure in the box for Dad for Father's Day. It's very cool. Totally free. No extra charge in the box. Use the promo code DAD17 for the next 2 days, and you'll get it in time for Father's Day. My suggestion, keep the stereo. Give Dad the tape measure. Did I just say that, Joshua? Yeah, that's what everybody should do. Keep the stereo and give away the tape measure. Okay. Joshua, I've got my wishing machine. I am holding it up to the studio cam right here. Everybody can see it. I've had this now. Joshua, how long have I had this? 3-4 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I've had this for a long time. I've had, I held it up upside down. There it is, right side up. I had a wishing machine party I think I told you about it, but on New Year's Eve, over at the house, like 3 years ago, and I had everybody at the table use it and do the wish. Now, in a second, I want you to tell everybody how to use it. But this was what I did. I had a photograph that I used, and I taped it to the top of the wishing machine, and that nobody else saw what I was doing. And I did that, and when I went through and did the process on it, it was tripping me out because I was trying to debunk the machine, right? I'm trying to not have it do what it's supposed to do. There's a physical thing that happens. I'll let you tell everybody about it. But it did it, and it did it 9 times, right? There's 9 knobs. And I'm just like, wow, okay, it's actually doing what it's. So anyway, it went through and I'll say this to everybody. What I wished for was something very, very specific. It was had something to do with a life event, and that it was so out of left field that there was just no way, right? But it was about 4 months later, it happened. It was shocking, and I've kept it private. Nobody knows, not even Rita. I just kept it to myself because it was a personal experience, but it was pretty extraordinary. And there you go. Now, for everybody, describe the box as I hold it up to the camera.
Yeah, well, we have different models, but essentially it is a wooden box that has an input plate and an output plate. It's got generally 9 knobs on it. And what you do is you take something that you want to occur and you symbolize it in some way, and you put it on the input plate. And then you go through the simple technique of adjusting each one of the knobs. Now, basically, there is a circuit inside of this box. It's a very bizarro circuit that doesn't make much sense scientifically speaking, according to what we understand right now. But what happens is that in the usual technique, you actually are stroking the output plate with one finger as you adjust each knob with the other hand. And when you reach a certain position on each knob, you get what is called a stick, meaning that it's kind of like when 2 magnets are right within that particular range where they snap together. How you take a couple of magnets and you turn up the like sides, they'll repel, and opposite sides, they'll attract. Well, imagine if you had something like adjustable magnets. So your finger is one of these sides, so to speak, and as you adjust each one of these knobs, you'll suddenly feel an attraction or a stick there. It's almost like a biofeedback thing. And once you adjust the knobs into the position where you feel a stick or a connection, well, then at that point, you can either just stop and leave it as is, or you can take what's on the input plate and move it over to the output plate. There are different ways of doing it, but then you put the thing aside and you just forget about it. And then from there, the concept is all the little particles that make up this thing we call reality will gradually rearrange themselves and then create the reality that you were hoping to create. And here's how I look at it. You know how, Jimmy, you grow up your whole life and people tell you, hey, you can do anything you want as long as you work hard and put your mind to it? Well, the work hard part sucks, doesn't it? And we as a society, we've tried to make things easier on ourselves. That's why we don't have to grow a garden anymore. We can go to the grocery store and we don't have to fire up the oven. We have a microwave, etc. And so it seems to me like if you're trying to travel from point A to point B, you can unfold a map and you can constantly refer to that map. And eventually, you will get from point A to point B, but it takes a certain level of attention. On the other hand, I like to just punch my destination into my little GPS computer there, and it tells me where to go. So I think this might be the equivalent of that. This is like a little box that you sort of punch your intention into, and once you do that and you set it aside, then you can go off and then you can figure out what you're going to have for dinner that night and what movie you're going to watch, and that thing is working for you, automated in the background. That's sort of how I envision this works, but nobody really knows.
Now, as Joshua was describing that, everybody, I started off on 0 with all the knobs. I showed it to everybody. Now I went through all 9, and there's my sticking points right there, and it's trippy. And so everybody can see the changes. I'm holding it up to the camera right now. That's what I ended up with. What's weird is, Joshua, the middle row, right? The middle 3 are nearly all identical at the 2 o'clock position. Everything else is all over the place, but the middle row all ended up at the same exact spot. That's kind of pretty close. Very strange. Now, I'm not going to tell everybody what I wished for, but I did. But that's basically the process. Is there any limits? I mean, obviously people are going to wish for money or wish. I mean, is there anything that they shouldn't do?
Well, you know what's funny is that this technology has been around in some form for over 100 years. And several years ago, after having many, many, many years of success, decided I wanted to try to understand what was going on here. So I teamed up with my friend who makes these things. We call him Dr. Mulder, and he is the best wishing machine maker in the world. And we decided that we would create a project, which we call the Wishing Machine Project, where we would sort of try to keep up with the results and see sort of what successes and failures that people were having. So we've sold thousands of these things to people all over the world at a very low price, and then we keep up with them, we keep track of them, and we get their feedback. And what we have found after having done that for so long is that people who buy these things, if they wish for something that defies the laws of nature, like they're like, I want to fly like Superman, or I want to live forever, that's not going to work, because this thing works within the parameters of what is possible. And there are also certain instructions that we give you that are very specific about how to wish for things. And here's something that I really relish the opportunity to talk about for a moment, because this is so important. A lot of people who want to change their lives, they are not prepared for the rearrangement that must happen for their lives to change. So, for example, we had a lady who bought one of these things, and she said, I'm buying this because I hate my job, and I'm not making enough money, and I feel depressed all the time. And so, I'm buying this thing because I want to improve all that. Okay, great. So she gets the machine, and then she contacts us a few weeks later and says, oh man, this thing, this has done the exact opposite. She goes, I got this machine and I got fired from my job, and now I don't know what I'm going to do. Okay. And then you can imagine the next thing I'm going to tell you, Jimmy, and I swear to God, my hand on a stack of Bibles, this is true. Then she emails us maybe, I don't know, a week or maybe 7 to 10 days later, and she says, wow, not only did I get a new job, but it's something that I enjoy doing, and I'm making twice as much money. I want to apologize for what I wrote before. This thing is, the most amazing thing I've ever bought, blah, 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 blah. So what people have to realize is that if you want to change, like a dramatic change to happen, you have to watch things rearrange. And sometimes that means the old has to break apart so you can do something new. But as long as you're within the parameters of what is realistically within the physical laws, we have not found the limits beyond that.
Now, everybody wants, myself included, obviously I would never open this up and look inside of it, but it's got to be simple, right? The circuitry? I mean, it's not powered.
Well, some of them are. The most basic ones do not have any power supply, but what we found in our experiments is that if you do plug it in, it seems to work faster.
Okay.
And at first, I really hated that because I couldn't explain it, but the more I thought about it, I realized maybe it's sort of a carrier wave phenomenon.
Right.
That when you apply electricity, because think about it, the human brain has electricity. So maybe, when you apply electricity, it almost becomes like an extension of the human brain. So there are different models, but yeah, the internal circuitry, well, Dr. Mulder says his trade secret, okay, his KFC, Colonel Sanders' secret recipe is he knows how to select the very particular types of quartz crystals that go inside.
Mm-hmm.
And that may sound nuts, but hey, Hitachi announced, it was in Scientific American just a few years ago, that they created the most comprehensive microchip ever that can store, hundreds and hundreds of terabytes in a tiny sliver of quartz crystal that will last for thousands of years. It will withstand thousands of degrees of temperature. So, and that's a tiny little flat two-dimensional sliver. So there is a real mystery to how the quartz crystals apply to this. So but the circuit inside these things, and I've never built one, and I don't build them, so I can't speak personally about that. But I do know that it employs Tesla, coil harmonics, sacred geometry, all kinds of weird stuff like that. But the guys who build these things, they don't understand exactly what they're doing. They're just going trial and error and seeing what works. And B, when they get something that works, they're kind of secretive about it because it's such a powerful thing that can be used or misused.
Well, see, here's the thing. And before I sound like I'm, promoting Dionne Warwick and the Psychic Friends Network,
right.
I'm not doing that at all. I can only say that the process that you go through with the wishing machine, that part works. I'm talking about the sticking of the finger and you're adjusting the potentiometer and you stop and you move on. And the one specific time where I did it with intention, it actually came to pass. I can't explain that. But it takes me to this next question, Joshua. Based on historical evidence of your own work, and going to the Cymatics side of things and the wishing machine, why do humans need either visual symbols or objects like the wishing machine to focus their intentions, as opposed to simply using their brain power and their desire to make things happen? Why do we need something in between?
Well, focus is everything, really. Focus and context. If you have this enormous brain power, but it's just sort of distributed equally all around, well, nothing gets done. You have to have something that takes that and draws it toward a specific goal. That is why that all humans were created equal, basically. Obviously some of us may have had certain advantages, like, for example, some people may have been born without limbs or, without sight. Examples go on and on of different, like, physical advantages. But ultimately, most of us were born as equal creatures. And yet we have some people out there who get to go walk on the moon. And we have some people out there who, get to be president. And we have other people out there who are unfortunately unable to scrape together enough to have a good meal. And you wonder, well, what's the difference? Well, part of that boils down to the fact that we have this opportunity to figure out how we focus our brain power and how that we condense our brain power and where we want to go and how we want to get there and how we choose to use it. And I think that we focus a lot on tools out there that take mundane stuff. We'll say entertainment, movies or virtual reality or whatever. And we focus on how to take those tools and really, modify and condense everything that we sense about the entertainment business into this super advanced technology while neglecting these other things that we can use in order to achieve the stuff that gives us happiness. And sometimes getting rich alone is not the thing that makes you happy. Everybody thinks that,
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thinks if I'm rich, I'll be happy. But, in 2006, I believe, there was a guy, and I wrote about this in my book, Use the Force. He won the lottery in Chicago. He won hundreds of millions of dollars. And because of that, he got kidnapped and held for ransom. And things went awry, and he got killed. So sometimes you have to think like, all right, it's not about fitting into this mold of, well, I want to be rich and famous or whatever and successful. It's like, no. What do you want? Do you want to have a house on a cliff in Maine with waves crashing on the shore? Okay, fine. That's something. Wish for that, And so ultimately what you find out is when you take your brain power and you focus it on a particular actual physical outcome, you can make that happen much more easily than thinking and fixating upon a concept. And I believe that's what these machines help you do.
Yeah, it's undeniable because not the wishing machine part, but the brain power part. And if the wishing machine is the go-between that allows the focus, so be it. And like the sigil, these sigils that I have printed out, we'll see. But again, very, very interesting. And I'll say it till the cows come home. There's something going on out there, and we're trying to find out what it is. And you have been doing it for years. I just want to thank you, man, not only for being a friend and coming on the show, but sharing all of this stuff with us. And the sigils are there. You can go to Joshua's website and click and print them out. They're right there for free. Go and check it out. Just interface back with Joshua. Joshua, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, you can email me, contact@joshuapwarren.com. I read every single email personally. I may not be able to reply to everyone, but I do read everyone. And, I'm very interactive. So, I've got Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. So, yeah, just go to joshuapwarren.com. But if you sign up for my free e-newsletter, not only will you immediately receive what I call a good luck charm, but you'll also get the very first breaking news. And let me tell you, Jimmy, I've got some super exciting stuff coming out the rest of this year. I just got some new news today that is kind of blowing my mind. I'm sure we'll be talking about that again soon. But secondly, our conversations are the best. You're the greatest. I love Fade to Black. And thank you for all of these fantastic, thought-provoking conversations. You're the man.
You're the best, Joshua. Thank you so much. And be safe out there. And keep us posted on the OUFOs. I know that there's more news coming our way on that as it starts to unfold. But I think it's a very, very exciting new part of ufology that I think everybody needs to start to focus on. And I thank you for that.
Hey, thank you, Jimmy. Always a pleasure, buddy.
You got it. Joshua P. Warren, everybody. And again, it's very simple. JoshuaPWarren.com. The links are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com And if you go over right there on the homepage, the wishing machine is right there on the right-hand side. You can sign up for his newsletter right there on the homepage. All of the sigils and the sigil links that we were talking about. And again, I'll hold up the money sigil right now for everybody that's on the bunker cam. That's what I printed out, and the complete list is right there. Go and do it, all right? And it's just a great website, and all of Joshua's books are over there too as well. Joshua P. Warren. And do follow him on Twitter at Joshua P. Warren. And now, before I let everybody go, I want to do a couple of updates that I have here. Number one, the decision to ground all F-35 fighters at Luke Air Force Base in Arizona was extended now indefinitely, as the special teams of experts have struggled to figure out what caused the multiple incidents of pilots reporting oxygen deprivation. Now, that sounds simple, right? Oxygen tanks, face mask, that they'd be able to figure this out, and they anticipated things to be grounded for a few days, but now it is indefinitely. Brigadier General Brooke Leonard, commander of the 56th Fighter Wing at Luke, suspended flight operations on Friday after reports of 5 physiological incidents since May 2nd. Flights were supposed to resume now, but Monday, earlier today, they have absolutely stopped everything indefinitely. Very, very interesting. And of course, first off, Luke Air Force Base, Phoenix Lights, Phoenix, Arizona. That's what always comes to mind when I think of Luke Air Force Base. There's that part of it. But second, the tremendous amount of money that the Pentagon has spent on F-35 fighters, the most advanced fighter in the world, to be grounded because of lack of oxygen to the pilots. It just doesn't make any sense, right? Okay, there's that. Also, good news for caffeine addicts and for everybody. Just go to the River Moon Coffee banner right now over at JimmyChurchRadio.com and order yourself some Fade to Black blend. Promo code F2B blend. It's right there on the banner. Why? Because a new study says that drinking coffee and tea, right? There it is right here. Look in the bunker can. There it is. Fade Black blend going down. Will give you better liver health. That's right. In a study that took place in Amsterdam, researchers looked at data for more than 2,400 people who were at least 45 years old. Participants completed a health screening and questionnaire about their diets, reported consuming no coffee, moderate amounts of coffee, less than 3 cups a day, or higher amounts, more than 3 cups a day. The tea was measured by herbal, green, black, and consumption of either none or any. They found, now check this out, they found that people who drank more coffee and tea had less liver stiffness, which is linked to liver disease and cancer. Now, I'm not saying anything. All that I am saying is I love coffee and I love my Fade to Black blend. And my body was saying I need more. And now I know why. So go and get yourself some Fade to Black blend right now from JimmyChurchRadio.com and save yourself some liver stiffness. And this concludes another episode of Fade to Black. I want to thank Joshua P. Warren. Go to joshuapwarren.com. Everything is there. Print yourself some sigils. Para-Cymatics. There's something going on here. I can't wait. I printed out mine. More on my results on tomorrow's show. The wishing machine is there. You can sign up for the newsletter. Everything over at joshuapwarren.com. Thank you, Joshua. Again, as always, you said it yourself. Just another great conversation with you, my friend. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Mark D. Kovar. Thanks to LJ3, Renee Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldridge. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Follow Joshua at Joshua P. Warren. Until tomorrow night, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tabby.